right. Good morning. Just follow up from Saturday. Obviously, disappointing finish for our guys. Proud of the response in the second half. Obviously, did not start the way we needed to start in the first half. But really proud of our guys' ability to regroup, make adjustments, and come out and play the way we expected us to play from the beginning. So saw some progress with our young quarterback. Obviously continue to build off of his strengths and what he's able to do, and continue to grow and develop him and grow and develop our offense around him. And excited to see our defense respond and get a strong performance in the second half. Still not enough takeaways. Got a goal of 3 every game. Only got 1. Needed another one, and 3 would be ideal to get what we need to get to be able to set up our offense in a better way. But special teams eliminated the penalties, executed the onside kick there to perfection, which helped us get jump started in the second half. But just continue more consistency out of our punting unit that has been really strong and was good, but still not elite, which needs to be elite every time we take the field. So recognizing our scout team players of the week, Aiden Cannon and Drew Pierce were our defensive scouts of the week. And offensively, Brody Foley and Sam West were selected by the staff, and then special teams was Aaron Stewart. So continue to get strong efforts from our guys in practice, which is necessary to get ourselves prepared each week. Go back, evaluate, adjust, and get better. And so we've got important game coming up here at home against Akron to be able to continue to develop our team, build our team, and get better in all 3 units. So important week for us to be able to lock in and welcome a team that's got a lot of good athletes on it, a lot of guys that good enough to make it really challenging for us. So they play really, really hard. Coach Moorhead does a great job there, and Joe's a great football coach, and gone against him many times when he was at Penn State, and they'll be very good schematically on both sides of the ball. So looking for the opportunity for us to continue to improve and continue to get better. Questions?
As you were able to go back, watch film, evaluate, kind of a 2-parter, just number one, when you have a second look at it, how important maybe, or how impressed were you with just kind of the rhythm that Walt and Taven got into, play caller, quarterback, and while not asking for bulletin board material on Akron, how important is a weekend like this before you get back into Big Ten play to keep building on that and maybe to experiment a little bit more, put some different things on Taven's plate to keep growing that relationship?
Yeah, I think that it was an important next step. We obviously that was the first game that he's been, where Taven was the guy the whole game. And so just to be able to, as you said, grow that chemistry, and be able to get in a good flow. And that's the thing, too, you think about the first half. We just didn't finish our drives. We had 2 good starts to the drives, but did not finish them, and had enough individualized mistakes of individual players that kind of collectively short-circuited those. But I think you can just kind of see, what we can become, from a scheme perspective, as well as, the play calling itself and being able to distribute the football. And I think, Taven's ability to make reads in the throw game was impressive. He's obviously, they're loading the box and they're trying to stop the run and, make the young quarterback, make plays. And he was able to do that. He created several out of nothing. I always talk about that's kind of like a key quality looking for in a quarterback is, hey, can he make something out of nothing? When something breaks down, can he extend the play long enough to be able to get his eyes downfield, which he's able to do that, and either beat you with his legs or beat you with his arm. And so I think just recognition of that part of his game was good. This guy keep growing that, and there's no question that he just needs to play football. The more he plays, the better he's going to get. I believe that. Even just the mechanics of everything and just working through, running the huddle and taking care of the shot clock. And, we're trying to maximize that through everything that we do. And so obviously a couple of times we had to burn some timeouts that you don't want to do in those situations. And so we got to do a better job with that, both as a staff and as an execution as players. So, but I think you just see that growth. And obviously we got one more game before we get back into Big Ten play, but they're all important. It's a team that was 14-3 late in the third quarter at Kentucky. A team that's got a lot of athletes, a lot of length. Kids play extremely hard. So, yeah, you got to be on point without question, and that's what it's supposed to be every time you take the field. And a lot of respect for the way this team is coached and how hard they're going to play. And that's really kind of something that sticks out to me on film is how hard they play. And so that's a tribute to their coaching staff and their players. So we will have to be offensively at our best, but we got to continue to move forward. And that's the whole point. It's an obsession with getting better. That's what our focus is this week, just to be able to improve as a football team and continue to progress on both sides of the ball and special teams.
Coach, the onside kick was really the first kind of big pressure spot that you've had to put Chris in this season. Just how, it's a big call to make, obviously, and really, in the heat of the game like that, really trying to give your team a jolt. How did you see him handle that moment? And just, obviously, he had a lot of time to think about it as you made that decision in halftime leading up to that. How did you see him handle that moment? Yeah, I think that was a really huge step for him. It's one thing to do in practice. Those are hard to get. You have to, the placement has to be perfect. The spacing is pretty compressed, and there's a little window that we took advantage of. But if the ball doesn't hit just right, sometimes you overthink it and you don't hit it quite hard enough or whatever. And so, matter of fact, of the three that we did, like I said, we were 2 for 2 during practice, and that might have been the best one of the three. The way it just popped up perfect right there for Lewis to recover. But so just to be able to do that in that moment, yeah, that gives him confidence. There's nothing like doing it in the game, and practice is great. Obviously, that's where it all begins. But to execute in that moment, in that setting at a critical time was very important. So he's a guy that he's growing in his confidence each time he takes the field. Obviously, he's been our kickoff specialist a year ago, and now he's grown into being our field goal guy, as well as now just being able to have the ability to. That's one thing I always felt like about Chris because of his soccer background, was his ability to have a multiple skill set of different kinds of kicks that he can bring to our arsenal. And because of his, ability to, being such a talented soccer player and understanding ball placement and different things like that. Some guys with big legs like he had, they can just crush the ball, and that's pretty much what you're going to get. But he's got ability to place the ball, and felt that way coming out of high school too. So great to see him do that, and just proud of him because he's worked really, really hard, and he's earned a scholarship here, and that's we put him on here a year ago, and just really, really proud of him for coming here and earning it the way that he has, and he's an excellent student, awesome young man, and just a great representation of our program in every way.
Yeah, when you rewatched the Louisville's last drive when they were able to run out the clock, what happened? Kind of, what did you take away from that? Anything that concerned you the most when they ran it 8 times and their quarterback got loose? What did you kind of take away from that? Yeah,
sequence? So 2 things. Number one, didn't contain the quarterback. That to me jumps out the most. The first play when they had the ball that didn't, gave them a chance to get off the hook, and get out of the inside the 5 area, obviously even tighter than that initially. But and then the third down one, that's what just sticks out to me. The 3rd and 9, we had a great call on. I like the call that we made, and we just got to, we got to be disciplined. And to me, I think it was kind of the theme, did some good things defensively, held a very explosive offense to 21 points, but obviously too many points. We didn't win. But, we had breakdowns, just some individual breakdowns where a guy that's supposed to be the edge, we brought pressure from one side, and obviously then you got to understand that to know that he's going to get flushed out away from the pressure most of the time, or he's going to step up. And so just to not have that executed properly was kind of telling for some other things that happened even earlier in the game, especially in the first half when we weren't getting off the field on 3rd downs. It just takes one person to not be able to do your job. So there was so much emphasis about this phrase, do your job. And I felt like that kind of broke down, and that was those last few plays that were kind of a microcosm of the whole game, especially the first half for our defense. And because to me, we had a chance there. I think it was 2 minutes and 12 seconds to go in the game when we had 3rd and 9, and you get that stop there, either incomplete pass. If you get a sack, you call the timeout, get the ball back with 2 minutes to go, and you go try and win the game. So just really disappointed our defense didn't give us a chance there at that very, very end to have another shot. So just got to stop the run. We didn't stop the run effectively enough, and several of those were quarterback scrambles, which has got to be eliminated. And so just got to get tighter on our run fits and do some things better. And it's really about execution for me. And so that, to me, I think those last few plays there kind of summarize that. So we got to continue to work. We're not where we need to be yet, but we got to continue to get better.
Tom, can you talk a little bit about the way Sharp and Dunham bounced back, the way they handled that kind of speed?
Yeah, so that was, you got two young players that had bad eyes. And so when you think about Jamari, very talented player, but that was really his first, a game, I would say, of that magnitude where you got two teams that are very, very, equal, and we're trying to have every play is going to be a variable in the outcome of the game. And so I think it's important to be able to have those experiences. Yeah, you don't want him to have a negative like that and give up such a huge play, but he's going to learn a valuable lesson from that. He was our, in that coverage, he was the high defender, so he should not be triggered on the run, and he did, and so he bit on the run fake, and because of poor eyes, and same with Phillip, getting his eyes off his man in that particular call and giving up a double move, and so, but once again, Phillip's he's played more football for us than Jamari has, but still he's young, and so those are critical opportunities to learn from, and so I think to be able to come back from that is important. You got to flush it, you got to press on, you got to have a really bad memory and play in the secondary at this level. They're going to make some plays, but we knew we couldn't give up explosive pass plays. And so obviously both of those were the one we ended up getting a stop and a missed field goal, but obviously the other one was a touchdown. So an 85-yard touchdown, which is just it's a killer. You can't do that. You got to make them earn that, and we did not. So, but going to learn from that. Obviously much to teach off of. That's once again goes back to, hey, 10 guys can do your job, and if one guy doesn't, then it's a negative play for us. So we got to do our job. We got to trust the guys around us to do theirs. You got to trust the fitters on the run to do theirs, so you can stay back and play things top down per the coverage. So that's a growth opportunity for some young guys, and I expect them to be better because of it.
Hey, Coach, you talked about after the game the adjustments you guys made on offense. One thing that I kind of noticed is it seemed like you were doing a lot of two tight end stuff in the first half. And then the second half seemed like you spread them out a little bit more on offensively, a little bit more 4 or 5 wide receivers. I'm not trying to get you to give away trade secrets, but going forward, do you think that's something that Haven's more comfortable with than what you guys maybe were doing a little bit earlier, just so, spread the ball out, let him kind of read the field and make plays?
Well, I think there's, a lot of it has to do with how they're defending us each week. So that will be an adjustment, whether it's as it starts the game or something that we go to, just having that flexibility to be able to do both is important, and I think that's a critical piece to what we want to be able to do. So yeah, there's no question, based on how the opponent decides to defend us, and they'll all have their own ways of doing that each week, and based on that we want to do a great job of either having the initial plan that takes advantage of it, or if it's different than we might have expected, then you make an adjustment and do what we think is best. But there's no question that I think you can see that Taven is comfortable in either setting, but obviously has the ability to get, clear. Whatever we can do to simplify the reads is really is the key. And based, like you said, based on how they're defending us, that we'll be able to adjust accordingly.
Tom, with regards to the timeout management, there was the drive in the first half where you guys used 2 timeouts within 2 plays. And then also in the second half, you guys only had 1 timeout left for that final Louisville drive. Looking back through the film, is there something maybe that sticks out to you as like why you guys were in that kind of situation? Yeah, so in the first half, I would say, it was once it would have been on our staff to be able to get the call in sooner, and that would be an issue that we have to get corrected. And then the second one was ability for us to, quarterback's got to be able to manage that as well. And so, but once again, being young, that will improve each and every week. But yeah, you don't want to burn those. Obviously, you like to have 2 going into the final situation. I know for us in the final drive, we obviously you took that last one there, or the second to last one prior to the 4th down. So it's kind of a good time to be able just to make sure you talk things through. But at the same time, you'd like to have 2 going into a final drive, if at all possible, and for sure 1. So, but yeah, you got to, second half for sure, you want to save those timeouts and got to do a better job as both the staff and both our execution offensively.
Yeah, Tom, you said before the season just how important it was for whoever you named at quarterback, just their leadership, and how that was kind of a challenge just since, they were young guys, hadn't played much football. How would you kind of evaluate how Taven has grown in those ways, and maybe some of the ways that players have around him have responded to that?
Yeah, I think and one thing that is hard one of the negatives of having a quarterback competition in the offseason is, who do they look to, and so you're really looking to both of them, and it's always kind of a little bit of a balancing act of, who kind of takes over and, even, hey, let's get together and let's throw, who initiates that, but they've done a great job of managing that and working together for that. And so, but now when you make a decision, it becomes the focus on, okay, this is your role now, so, and I think Taven very naturally does that. I think, he knew, and he and I even talked when he first got here, when you come in brand new to a place, you got to kind of, earn the right to speak per se. And so, but he did a great job of building that trust with his teammates. And so now he's been positioned where he needs to take over, and that's what he does a lot of that. He's a verbal guy. So he's, I would say, since I've been here, he has the potential to be the best verbal leader we've had at that position in all my years here. And I expect him to be that way. And I think it comes to him in a very natural way. And so that's a good thing. I want that guy to be verbal. To me, you have to have a guy that's going to speak with confidence and clarity and articulate the vision of what we want to be able to do and to be able to motivate and to confront and to encourage and to challenge in that role. And we really haven't had that, to the extent that I think you need it. And I say the same thing for our linebackers. Everybody's got different personalities, and I get that. But at the same time, you have to speak to lead, and you have to speak to be able to I think, to have the highest level of strong leadership at that position. So I think that's something that he will do very, very well. And it's something I will work with him on individually. And when I see things to both encourage and to challenge. And so, but like I said, once again, certain guys have that. And I think that's something that's going to be one of his strengths without question. So I think that will continue to grow throughout the season. And I think you can see that the guys, they believe in him and his ability to make plays in those situations. And that will continue to grow.
Tom, run game. Talk a little bit about what needs to be done to be more consistent in the running attack, obviously, at this point, and your thoughts on the offensive line play in this game.
Yeah, I would say, do got to run the football better. We always go through and compare the two, each teams, and we did not do a good enough job. Now, there's no question that schematically, they're loading the box, trying to take it away, and we threw for a lot of yards, and so that's what you got to be able to do. But at the end of the day, we got to score points. We got to score more than 14 points, and so. But I would say that offensive line wasn't consistent enough in our execution, and so we're going to continue to focus on that without question. Did a good job protecting our quarterback. And giving him time to throw, which is very important. So we're making progress. There's no question about it. But it's got to continue. It's got to elevate each week. And so to me, it's finishing out. As once again, I said it last week, it's finishing those blocks, getting on our man, staying on our man, finishing the blocks, and giving our backs a chance. And to me, to be able to finish out drives and to be able to, balls where it was on the last play to get that yard, to be able to score a touchdown, to get it to where it needs to be. And so starts up front, and we are making progress, but it's got to continue, no question about it. And I think just for us to be able to, as a staff, to continue to stay with the fundamentals and the techniques that we're working through and getting better at it, and our guys continuing to grow and develop as a unit. So definitely not good enough at this point, but progress is being made.
Coach, you mentioned consistency with the offensive line a couple of minutes ago. Defensively, first half give up 300-plus yards, second half only 120. Even the offense was better in the second half than it was in the first half. What can you do to teach consistency? Just from a technique standpoint, how do you get the team to make sure that you are playing 60 minutes of football and not just cobbling together 30?
Yeah, there's no question. And I think that's, a great, focus for us is, you got to play 60 minutes, and we talk about it all the time. Obviously, we didn't do it, and didn't start the game the way we needed to start it, and go back and evaluate why, and obviously you're encouraged by the response, but you don't want to have to be down by, 21 points. And so to me, it's about, I want to see us come out and play with the confidence that we played with in the second half, from the get-go. And so to me, it was a noticeable difference without question. I think, we got a lot of new faces, I get all that, but to be able to make sure we're doing a good job of being simple enough to where our guys can play with that confidence from the get-go, right out of the opening kickoff, and that's going to be the focus for this week, is to be able to come out. And like I said, I feel like that it was individual breakdowns that really kind of hindered us in that first half. It wasn't a collective breakdowns, but it just takes one. And so just offensively, same thing, defensively, same thing. And so to me, it's making sure we're simple enough so we can execute, because they're always going to do some things a little bit different. Especially you think about offensively, they're going to have an opening script, everybody does. And so what that looks like compared to what you thought they were going to do, and how you can adapt to that. So our guys are playing fast and playing with confidence and playing with just a reactionary and not having to open process things. So to me, that's going to be the emphasis is that we got to make sure we are very confident in our reads and our keys and our execution of those reads and keys, both offensively and defensively, and make whatever adjustments we got to make this week, both schematically as well as in process of getting ready for a game, to make sure that happens. So that's my responsibility as a head coach, to get us to that point where we're playing, with an edge about us and playing with confidence and playing with some swagger.
Ahead of week 1, you mentioned playing Ohio State. You were hoping that it would accelerate your progress this year. Entering week 4 now, would you say that has kind of played out the way you thought it would? And maybe where have you seen the most progress in the first 3 weeks?
Well, I would say, with our inability to play 60 minutes of really good football on Saturday, disappointed in that. Felt like that we were on track to get where we wanted to be from what we stated as our goal from playing a team like that in week 1. Didn't feel like we fully maximized that. I do think, even though we do have a young quarterback and there's going to be mistakes, I get there's a growth process you go through with that. I do think we're seeing an acceleration of that, in a positive way, which can really help our offense and help our whole team, but I do want to see us, I just want to see us execute better. I mean, it's not a complicated part in regards to that. So, but obviously you play. Your schedule is what it is, and we got to continue to grow as a football team. And so, to me, I guess probably the jury's still out to see if that's fully going to manifest itself. But this is an important week for that to be the case, and obviously, every week's a big week to get better. And that's what we're going to emphasize such a high level this week, and how our guys respond to be able to come back and prepare at the level that they have to prepare at to be able to be their best. And I thought we had a good week of preparation last week, so I'm not going to sit here and say, I've talked to that with our players and say, what do we need to do now to be able to make sure that preparation translates and shows up on game day in the first quarter. And that's what I wanted to be able to do. And so to me, it's about executing, and executing at a high level of confidence and being able to play at the speed I want us to play at from the opening quarter on. So that's going to be the emphasis, and we'll, like I said, we'll know more after this next weekend to where we feel we're at after the first few games.
I know you've kind of avoided injury talk, but did Max Longman avoid something serious? And with Matt Shubert, he came in for him, just trying to protect him a little bit. What kind of, it's not unrelated to his ACL from the offseason?
Yeah, so, Matt had missed a practice, as far as wasn't able to go in one of them during the week. So just bringing him along, feel like he's progressing without question and getting his body where he needs to be, 100%, which is getting very, very close to that, but we'll continue to use the availability report for our guys each week. But, and I would say that we would, in a consistent way, if a guy is out for the season, we would say that, but we do use that availability report each week to be able to show who is out for that game and who will be questionable for that game.
You talked about this a minute ago, but I guess the question of sort of starting well versus adjusting well, as a coach, just maybe more philosophically in your experience, which is kind of harder to get better at, I guess, in terms of being a team that maybe starts well versus being a team that takes adjustment well, that learns as a game is going on? Would you rather be good at one earlier in the season and be able to develop the other, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, I think you need them both. And I think the adjusting well is definitely two parts. Starts with the coaches. Can they see things in the moment, in the heat of the battle, whether they're sideline adjustments or halftime adjustments? Those are very critical. I don't think you can be a really good football team without having those. So we show we can be able to do that. The starting fast and starting well is very, very important. So what you don't want is to, I think as teams doing this long enough, and you guys have covered football, you kind of see teams develop a personality throughout the season. And so you don't want to get in that kind of, hey, this is, a team that starts slow. That's not what you want. So to me, we got to nip that right out of the gate here. It happened obviously this past game. Didn't necessarily feel that way the first two games, but yeah, we had a lull in the second one, but didn't start that way. So to me, you want to get that out of whatever caused that. We got to get that out of our system and get back to playing playing good football right out of the gate. There's no doubt there's always kind of a feeling out process the first couple of drives to kind of see how both sides are playing each other. But at the same time, you want to be able to get off. And I will say this: you think about our offense. We were able to move the football, get it to midfield, get a little past midfield, and then it wasn't a 3 and out. But we got to be able to finish, get points in those situations. So I think it goes back to being able to make sure that we're executing at a high level on both sides, and I think that's what you saw. That's where we were breaking down. So the emphasis would be, I want us to be a team that plays well early and is able to make good adjustments and then finish strong. Appreciate you guys. Have an awesome day. Elio.